All right, guys, UFC 297 goes down this weekend, and we finally get to see the fight between Dricus and Sean Strickland. Look, man, this one is as personal as it's going to get. And in personal fights, your boy always shows up. So once again, I've partnered up with the DraftKings Sportsbook to give all new customers a fantastic offer. Bet only $5 or more and get $200 in bonus bets instantly by using my promo code DCTV. It's going to be cold in Canada, but it's going to be hot inside that octagon. Once again, get in on all the action at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Use my promo code DCTV at the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the UFC. And at the DraftKings Sportsbook, guys, the crown is yours. You can be like your boy. I'm a king. Why don't you be a king or a queen? It is what it is. Let's go. Another episode of Funky and the Champ. I'm fat. Jamal's like skinny fat. Right? He's like you're skinny fat.
Take it back.
Today I chose violence.
I'm suing. Sue them. I had the mute on for the fight. Sorry, Daniel. I did mute you.
You guys are going to be lifetime enemies because of the shit you say the moment you get a microphone in your face. Bro, you're crazy. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Funky and the Champ. I'm Daniel Cormier. That's my boy, Ben Askren. Ben, dude, Luis, our producer, said 8:30 time. It's 8:31. This dude's like, are y'all good? What is wrong with this guy, man?
I love that he puts the heat on you. I love it,
bro.
Yeah.
Like prompting all fast. But let me ask you this, though. You want to know why this fool is so excited? Yo, this dude has a party, so he has to get on the train. But listen to this, though, Glenn.
What?
Didn't invite his girlfriend. I go, Luis, you taking the old lady? He goes, well, it didn't say anything about a +1.
I can't believe you're just putting his business in the street like this. I'm Daniel. You stop, right? You're being a bad friend.
Is it implied that you get a +1?
I mean, I would have at least asked. I would have said, "Hey, I get to bring someone, right?"
No,
you need to apologize. You need to buy Luis's girlfriend a train ticket right now. You hook Luis up, get a nice view of Central Park, and he can, give his girlfriend a few kisses.
Bro, let me tell you something. Luis's girlfriend got me a nice Christmas gift. She drew a hand-drawn painting of me. But Ben,
what?
Let's just switch the topic.
Okay.
Guys, earlier this week, I'm reading this off my thing. Dana White, or some of his text messages were leaked in regards to Jon Jones, Ben. And they were very mean text messages. Now,
not nice.
Not nice. But I may have a little bit of a different view of this than most. What did you feel when you first read that? Because those are the types of things like when you feel like you get the curtain pulled back, you're like, okay, I'm tapped in.
Well, I guess I'm definitely not shocked by Dana's words because I know how he can be. But what I would think, I can't wait to see what his ass texts about me in 2013. I want those to get dug up. But with Jon Jones, I guess I would think is Jon aware that this is how this person speaks about him, or will he be surprised? And when I thought about it a little bit, I'm like, nah, Jon probably knows. Jon probably has the expectation that that's the type of stuff Dana was saying, so he probably won't be all that put off by it. That was what I was kind of thinking. I don't know if that's totally crazy.
No, here's my thing. All right, Ben, okay. You and I both own businesses.
Yeah.
We've all had bad employees, or have you had a bad employee in one of your 8 academies?
Actually, not really yet.
You haven't had one?
There's one that was a really good friend, and I still like him to this day, but I had to fire him. And he kind of knew it, and so that sucked. He handled it very maturely. I had to get rid of him. And we're still friends.
Okay. Well, there's different levels, right? So in our business, it's being late, maybe not showing up on time, maybe not always being like tapped into the practices when they're there. But with Jones, it's about being at the fight, doing the promotion, being easier to work with, right? In those moments, when you have an employee that isn't working in the way that you think, you say stuff. You actually say stuff when you're talking to Max, or when I'm talking to Duran, or if I'm talking about Duran to someone else, or to Tony about Duran, or Duran about Tony. It's like you say things about an employee that isn't doing the things that you want. And I believe that. Go ahead, Ben.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking is like, with me, and this is like, Dana's kind of transparent because he kind of says nasty things about people in public, right?
Yes.
Not private text also. Like if I think someone's being a jackass, I just say, I think you're being a jackass. I might also tell that to Max, but I probably also told the person to his face.
But exactly. But then, here's the thing, though. Do you believe for a second that Dana didn't say it to John's face?
There's no way
he didn't. There's no way he didn't. He told him the exact same thing to his face. And then he goes and he talks to his friend, who is also his business partner, about the situation and says the exact same thing. So while it might seem, oh my God, this guy's talking about a guy that works for him in this way, is it really that big a deal? Because some of the stuff I've said to other people about the people that work for me, it's kind of crazy.
I'm glad you haven't found my text about you.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. Because I was going to say that, Ben. I was going to say that. In our wrestling league, you guys must get so frustrated with me because I'm never interested.
They're mad at you right now because you didn't show up with enough people to Utah.
See what I'm saying? Like, but those are the things I'm so stretched. So it's like I'm pretty sure
no one said anything like that Dana said. No one said anything.
No,
not even in that stratosphere.
I get it though, but listen though, Ben.
Yeah.
You got to remember what happened with Dan Henderson, right? It was like the whole event got canceled.
Yes.
John would have beat Dan Henderson. I guarantee that without a shadow of a doubt, he would have beat it.
Agreed.
So there's a lot of frustration built in regards to that relationship. So when you're talking privately, you say some crazy shit. But you know what's crazy about that? You know what's the crazy? I read it and it said they wanted him to fight Gustafsson again. The first fight with Gustafsson was very competitive. And you thought to yourself, let's run that back. It's going to make money. People believe. Jones, on the other hand, was wanting to fight me. And he wanted his money.
Yeah.
It ultimately worked out for them because the fight between Jones and I did way better business than it did with Gustafsson. So while there was a lot of frustration on Dana's part, it ultimately ended up working out better for him.
Yeah. No, you're totally right on that. I think I can't. Not at first. It took me a second, but I think I came to the same conclusion that you did. Is like John knows this is probably the type of things Dana has said about him, and he probably said it John's face. He's probably like, "F you, John, you punk." Right? That's what we called him in the text. Called him a punk, but I'm sure he said it to his face for sure. Yeah. So it does come off bad, and I guess maybe to people who have not followed Dan for a while, they're going to read that and they're going to go, oh my God, this guy's crazy. But then the other thing is Dan just probably doesn't care.
Do you think that some of these other people, Roger Goodell, Adam Silver, those guys in the NBA and the NFL, now I know this might be a little bit out of your realm, but do you think they like talk about some of the athletes when Kyrie Irving's like saging the Boston Garden? Bro, he walked to the Boston Garden. You know, seriously, do you think Adam Silver's like, yo, this fucker's crazy, bro? Like, somebody get Kyrie
Adam Silver. No, listen, you're right. I don't observe a lot. Adam Silver seems pretty baited to me. Like, that's just not the way he talks about people. Adam Silver, I would guess no. Roger Goodell, I'd probably say yeah.
Yeah, but then it's like, but again, it's a private conversation that got made public. It's like you don't know. Dude,
Daniel, what's the worst thing you said about someone privately that's never been exposed publicly?
Bro, some of the stuff I have said privately about people that I should never have said it about, it's crazy. Some of the people I love the most, when they piss me off, I'll text one of my other family members and be like, yo, this dude right here is the worst human being I've ever met in my entire life. It's crazy. And then you start talking. It's like you're speaking like with someone. It's called the circle of trust. You trust that person is never going to let that business out. And it was, I don't know, how did they get all of that text messages? Did they subpoena that or something?
Yeah, I think they subpoenaed the records there. Yeah.
subpoenaed all of the text messages and found out. But hey, bro, I'm gonna tell you this: like when I went to the UFC and I was negotiating a contract, Dana said stuff to me. I don't care. It's just business. It's just business. People are you're trying to come to some sort of agreement. And Jon, to his credit, Ben, was a little bit ahead of the game. Because now we're seeing it with Francis Ngannou, right?
What do you mean, in making demands or what?
Understanding his value, right? He probably felt like he deserved more money.
But the hard part there, Daniel, this is the hard part. And I got blackballed by Dana, and I to this day I don't know why. Maybe you're my friend. Maybe you can go ask Dana. I've asked him. I never got a good answer.
What did he say to you?
What he kind of just blew me off. He kind of blew me off. It was in a text real quick. I don't remember what he said. It blew me off, but it was like we went to that meeting together. It was actually the Monday after Gustafsson versus Jones. You and I and Bob went together to Vegas.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was the day.
Yeah, I didn't get an offer. I got sent home without a contract. So, I
got yelled. Hey, I got yelled at. I got yelled at because I was like, I'm worth more than what the offer is. I got yelled at.
Well, that's much better than I got, because I got no contract from anybody, and I was like, I don't really get my thing was like, I don't really give a damn how much you pay me. I think I could win, so sign me up. I'm gonna go win, and then I'm gonna ask for a bunch of money. But to that point, this is what Dana did, and this is where Jon Jones ran a fine line, and I think he won. I think he did a great job. Is Dana would blackball you if he didn't like you? He'd try to get rid of you,
but he couldn't because he kept winning.
That's Jones, but he got rid of other people.
But you can't get rid of a guy that keeps winning. He kept winning, right? It's hard to get rid of a dude that in the prime of his career was winning every fight. Even when you suspended him and time went away, when he came back, people would still kind of go in droves to watch him fight. It was what it was. So you understand how important he is to the business. Now, the only area in which I think that Jon Jones could have found himself into some issues was because of all the things that he had gotten himself into trouble. He hadn't even gotten into most of the bad stuff yet. He had issues, but he hadn't gotten to the level that he had got to. And if those text messages were shared then, could you imagine the text after when they had to strip him of the belt and all those other things? Could you imagine those text messages?
Man.
You see me? Could you imagine those?
Daniel, what do you think if you got to go through all of Dana's text messages? Oh my God.
I wouldn't want to.
The skeleton you could find. Think about that. So many bodies.
I wouldn't want to. I think if we all went to his text messages, all of our feelings would be hurt. Our feelings would be hurt.
I think so.
And dude, and again, he would say it to your face. And that is why you can't really be, because again, I've heard it. He's told me stuff to my face. And
Daniel, you're pretty likable. What could he possibly say to you?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like,
come on, what did he say to you?
That day that we went to the contract, he was like, well, you're not a champion. And he was kind of screaming. He's like, you're not a champion. So the amount of money you're asking for is not going to happen. And it wasn't as nice as I'm making it seem right now. But he was saying that to me, right? Ben, I left that meeting still without a contract. I left.
But you were already fighting in the UFC at that point, right? Or was this when you came over?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
You were.
But I was fighting under my Strikeforce contract, right? So I came to the UFC. I had fought Jeff Munson. No, I'd fought Roy Nelson and Frank Mir, but I was still under my Strikeforce contract, which was great for Strikeforce. But then I was going to fight Rashad Evans. It's like, I need to be paid more as I go down in weight to fight these guys. And the issue was I wasn't willing to fight Kane, so I was moving divisions and all that, and I wanted a certain amount of money. So I left that. I left that without a contract. And then Lorenzo just kind of said, "Hey, he gets worked up, and He goes, I don't worry about it. And so then by the time I got to the airport, that made me a better offer, and we came to terms, and we never had issues going forward. Right.
Yeah.
So, but it was in that moment when I thought that I deserved something more than wasn't agreed to, we ultimately came to an agreement that worked for both. But it's like,
Yeah.
contract negotiations are not easy. It's actually the most uncomfortable thing in the world. Like, I hate contract negotiations. Like, do you like it?
No, but I try to be pretty forthcoming with what I think. Kind of all that. That's kind of how I live my life. Like I was thinking, if you look through my text messages, there wouldn't be all that much I'm ashamed of. Like probably not
Really?
as much as most people. I mean, I'll give you my phone. You're welcome to look
Because
through it.
because you would just say it in
I
front of you.
That's how I try to live my life. I try to just put it out there, whatever I am. And so in contract negotiations, yeah, I've just honestly like that one I'm talking about that we're talking about. I literally said like, give me a contract. Even if you're not giving me that much money, I'll come and fight and I'll win. And then in my own head, I'm like, when I win, then I could demand more money. But I
A whole
didn't get
bunch of
offered anything. And that was when Dana said, "Oh, he's scared," blah blah blah. And I was like, "Well, no,
money.
I know you're saying that, Dana, but and this is where like maybe you and I would differ. Like Dana absolutely lied about me, 100%. And so that's why it's like he's not fully forthcoming. He is pretty straightforward, but then he can throw some swerves like this. And most people trust him because he is so forthcoming. But like when he said, I was scared, I didn't want to fight, that wasn't true. I literally said, give me a damn contract. I'll fight whoever you want.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
he's a promoter, right?
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
he's a promoter, and when you're promoting stuff, you put a little bit on it, like you
Yeah.
really do, because ultimately, hey, the one thing people could never question with him is
Yeah.
that the thing that matters the most to him is his family in the UFC. That'll never be questioned, and the
Yeah.
guy will protect that in that brand with everything that he has. But yeah,
Yeah.
not that surprised that of the Jon Jones conversation. And
I'll agree.
I don't think Jones is gonna take much offense to it either, because if he was living his life as if he thought that the guys spoke of him like he was just a pillar of the community,
Yeah.
then that's a level of like being like disillusioned
Yeah.
that should not walk God's green earth, because it's very dangerous.
But
If you're that delusional,
yeah.
then you
Yeah.
should not be walking the earth, because you're a dangerous, dangerous human being.
I think there will be. So I think you're right. I think my initial feeling was, oh damn, those are pretty aggressive text messages. And then I thought about the same thing as you, like John probably expected that type of thing. But I do think there'll be members of the public, and this is not that Dana cares, but just to make the observation, that say, oh man, like
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy.
No, absolutely. But
Yeah,
bro, we see it every day in sports. The guy
yeah,
that is way too valuable to get rid of, even though you know that him or that girl and the powers that be are not aligned, but they
yeah,
all still work together because they know that
yep.
ultimately it makes the best sense business wise. Ben, I spoke about being delusional. And if you're delusional, you could become dangerous.
Yeah,
Another guy that's very dangerous is our middleweight champion, Sean Strickland. We saw that in the fight with Israel Adesanya in terms of his bare hands. We saw that when the guy tried to like rob the person who was hiding outside of his house
yep.
when he came out with
He
his
had a
gun.
weapon.
He had a weapon. We saw that in many instances with Sean, right?
Hmm.
Even when he's driving like motorcycles through the desert and doing all this
Yep.
crazy stuff that, by the way, I thought was like in the contract that we're not allowed to do.
You're definitely not allowed to.
Yeah, I thought you're not allowed to do any of that stuff, but Sean obviously does
Selective enforcement, they call
it. so,
that.
Sean, so Sean said the other day, bro, on that video last week we discussed a little bit, or 2 weeks ago we discussed,
Yeah.
you were very, very sympathetic to Sean's plight. Nope, 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 nope. You're very
Hold on.
sympathetic.
Hold
Okay,
on.
go ahead.
I went and watched the Theo Vaughn podcast, which I thought was good. Um, I don't want to say I'm not sympathetic because I feel the same way about the things that happened to Sean. That the same words I said the other day, I don't feel differently about. But Sean says too many dumb things. I listened to that podcast. I said, man, I've been saying so many good things about Sean, and he's just talking crazy. It's just
What do you
crazy.
mean?
It's a stream of crazy. I don't go listen to the Theo Vaughn
What was the
podcast.
craziest thing he said?
We kept trying to bring up like strippers and hookers and all. It was a constant stream of madness. So I'm gonna temper my compliments towards Sean as like he needs to continue to get his thoughts together. We'll say.
But that's who he is, right?
That
And you said,
okay.
and I quote, you said,
Stop. Listen, one of my friends the other day said, I can't believe Daniel said that on record when you said it off record. I'm like, you actually believed him? You believe Daniel? Stop it.
you said, and I quote, I have never seen a guy who has rehabbed his public image better. I've never seen it swing as much as I've seen it swing for Sean Strickland. So now you're telling me, because he mentioned a couple hookers and some strippers, that now you're off the bandwagon?
I'm not off the bandwagon. I think he still says some great things. I'm tempering it. I'm not like before. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's the voice of reason. And listen, some of the stuff he says, I agree with. But then after listening to an hour and 50 minutes, I think that's how long the podcast was. There was a whole bunch of stuff I can't vouch for. I'm not vouching for it, Daniel. Nuh-uh, not doing it.
Ben, Sean said this though. He said, Dricus, he goes, if I go to Canada and you bring that up, guess what? I'm going to go to jail. They're going to deport me, and we spend 8 weeks of training for no fucking reason. Dude, listen, Dricus, we're going to try and murder each other. But if you bring that shit up again, I will fucking stab you. How worried are you? So one, that's worrisome because I know that Sean Strickland, he acts on his instincts and his thoughts. Two, I'm also worried that they're going to put everybody into the same hotel and we're going to run into a whole bunch of issues like we did with Bobby Green and Arman Tsarukyan.
This is pretty simple. Metal detector. You just get one of them wands. You put it right on Sean. All right, Sean, give up the shank. Let me have it. It's right there. It's in your pocket now. Press conference, weigh-ins. Sean, that's not a boner. That's your knife.
I ain't got it. I don't have a knife. I don't have a shiv. I don't have one. What if he shows up? What if he shows up with one of them jail shivs? It's like brown with a whole bunch of tape on the end with like a thing pointing
like
out
hard
the top.
hard plastic so the metal detector doesn't get it.
We can't make fun of this shit, man.
He ain't gonna stab Daniel. Let me break this to you. He's not gonna stab him. He's not gonna stab him.
Are you sure?
If I had betting, I'll bet you on this one. I'll give you 3-1 odds. I'll bet you $100 he don't.
I don't think he'll stab him because I don't think he'll have the opportunity.
Good. So you don't want to make that bet.
But I think if he did have the opportunity, he would stab him. I really believe it. I believe that Sean Strickland would stab him if he had the opportunity. You don't think that in a street fight, Sean Strickland would stab this dude?
I think that Dricus should have someone from his corner just be carrying around a metal detector all the time. Dricus, if you're listening, you could steal this material. Just have the what you know I'm talking about, one of those metal detectors that they put through your legs and stuff. Just
Danny. Hey, we should have Danny Rubenstein make that like his gimmick for the whole week, where like every time you see Dricus on Embedded and stuff, he's got someone with a metal detector making sure Sean doesn't get him. Bro, I'm gonna speak to Sean on an interview, and I'm gonna ask him, like, bro, do you believe that by showing him that this gets to you to that degree, if it's a bit of a mistake, because it could be a mistake. He seems so emotional about all this, obviously, as would be the case. But now you're saying, I'm going to stab you. Yeah. Why stab you when you do have the ability to go out and fight?
That was what I thought about the George and Colby situation. Like, George, you had plenty of time to try to hurt him. Like, there's not really very many rules in the octagon. It's very, very limited. Like, you can very much try to injure a man and you weren't able to do it. So yeah, I agree with what you just said. Is is it getting to him too much? And if you once you threaten to stab someone, it is probably getting to you too much. And I don't think we've ever seen Sean in this type of mindset. So it's gonna be very interesting to me because Sean is usually the antagonist, and the one creating the strife and not the opposite.
Yeah, but wait. In movies, Ben, you have an antagonist, and I think you have a protagonist or something like
Protagonist,
this.
yes, you can do
Yes,
that. Uh-huh.
that's the good guy. So you're telling me Sean's the good guy in this deal? So you listened to that interview and you came back with the idea that Sean Strickland is the good guy in this deal. Dricus du Plessis is the villain to you?
Yeah, I think that's where we're at now. I think that's it.
You just told
Just
me.
don't listen to the Theo Vaughn interview. Just don't listen to it. He says so much crazy stuff. Oh man! If you want me to listen. Okay, you know what? I'll be. We've had too much fun. I will be serious with you.
Oh my God!
I think Sean almost feels obligated to play that personality type. It felt in some circumstances with Theo Vaughn, he was forcing the. You know what? I'll tell you one line he kept saying that I was like, "Come on, dude!" Like, he kept saying, "I want to go bang every girl, but I got a girlfriend, so I don't." It's like, all right, Sean, come on, this is going out. This isn't like you talking to your buddy. This is going out. Everyone's gonna hear this. Your girlfriend is gonna know people are hearing this. Her friends are gonna hear people hearing this. That's fucking embarrassing. Like that's embarrassing for her. Why would you embarrass your girlfriend like that?
That's his deal. You know what's weird? Like his girlfriend is a very like nice, normal looking girl. So she, when I was training with some of these guys, like they would date these women, these fighters, and they would have like tattoos and they look like they kind of belong together. Sean Strickland's girlfriend is very like normal looking lady, and she's very nice. I met her in Australia. So to me, it's that this life, and maybe, we don't know this lady. So maybe like this is the exact life that they expected together, but this life is fast, man, and it's crazy, and it's like over the top, and it's big. How did your wife deal in this life, man? When you got to the UFC, there was all the glitz and the glamour, like because she's like did she go to Missouri too?
Yeah, but
she's a Midwest girl that's kind of like, you get fucking swept up into this whole big crazy life. Like, how did she live in that?
I don't know. I think she was fine with it. Yeah, we never really had any issues. It was kind of like, it's funny when the UFC is different because in different organizations, like I was popular in Asia and I would get recognized when I went on the streets and whatnot, but then the UFC, like especially in Vegas on a fight week, it's just a little different, or New York on a fight week, it's just a little bit different with the amount of, swarming. Or I don't remember, there was one fight I went to in Chicago that was totally crazy, but no, it was fun. I think we always talk about like I got popular, but not popular enough where it's miserable, where you can't go anywhere and you get swarmed. Like, taking a handful of pictures when you're on the street is like, that's fun, right?
That's not a big deal. Yeah.
It's not a big deal. It's nice.
The only thing that Selena didn't like was being involved in the build. It was like, leave the women out of this. Like everybody always felt like that. Like, just leave everybody out of this shit. This shit between y'all. Like it's between y'all. Like nobody wants to be involved in all of this, like, fight promotion and everything else that we got going on.
Yeah. But, so back to Sean Strickland stuff is like, dude, listen, Sean, you're a man. We all understand men urges, right? It's this part of being a man. But you don't got to go on a podcast that millions of people.
Women have those urges too. I mean,
not as frequently.
So crazy. Not as frequently. You're so crazy if you believe that. You're so crazy if they, hey,
bro, those are facts. We can talk off the podcast. Those are facts, bro.
No, but listen, Ben, let me tell you something. You know what's crazy? Men have those urges. Yes. Women have urges to do things too. Maybe not always sexual, but I'm gonna tell you
watch movies.
Yes. Let me tell you who has an urge right now. Luis's girlfriend has an urge to go some party now. She's leaving her. I mean, he's going to the party without her. Luis's girl probably has an urge to go somewhere, right? Am I wrong? She's probably like, yo, Luis.
You better make this up to him. You better buy him a nice-ass hotel room in New York City over in Central Park. Right now, you go on Luis, get his credit card, go on a Priceline, buy yourself. You have my permission, Luis. Buy the nicest hotel room you can find. Luis.
Show your face, Luis. Stand up for yourself, man.
Just hit me up and said there are no +1s. So there you go.
No, that's bullshit. You don't go to that party then,
I
Luis.
was right.
Hey, I'm wrong, Luis. Luis didn't have the option, so playboy.
I think he might be lying.
good.
Luis might be lying right now.
Yeah, Luis
I
is
don't
lying,
trust
trying
him.
to prove his point, man. Forget that guy. All right, last thing, Ben, before we go. Chael Sonnen said Khabib's going to fight Leon Edwards at UFC 300. Any truth to that, you think?
You know Khabib, just text him and ask him.
You. I'm not asking. I'm not asking, bro. Do you believe that Khabib comes back and fights Leon Edwards at UFC?
My general feeling would be no. I mean, he did retire young. He probably still has some good fighting years in him. But he seems to not have the urge to be in the public spotlight or do that type of thing at all. So that would lead me to believe the answer is no. But you got the real answer, so I think you just need to tell us.
You know what told me a lot about the Khabib situation and how he's like shying away from this life as much was in Abu Dhabi when Islam fought, he didn't even go. He didn't even come to the arena.
Yeah.
Bro, he just was like, tonight is about Islam. And a lot of times when you have a guy like Khabib, because, dude, Khabib has gotten to the point now that he's one of those guys like, he's like, dude, no bullshit. He's like fucking Messi and all them other dudes. Like when he goes out publicly, it's crazy the level of attention and stardom that this man has. So he tends to overshadow people when you're around him. And he didn't even go in Abu Dhabi because a lot of times it will turn into Coach Khabib, and he's like trying to step away to make sure he's not taking anything away from the guys that are inside the octagon. I don't imagine he would. I mean, I haven't really spoken to him lately, so I don't imagine that he would come back because, dude, we did a top 30 UFC fighters of all time.
Yeah.
Khabib told us he turned down $40 million. He said
what?
$40 million. That dude said $40 million, bro, to come back.
Oh, to fight anybody or to fight
the UFC. I don't know how many fights he was meaning. I don't know what he meant, but he just said it. He goes, "I turned away $40 million, brother. I'm done." I don't know what would prompt him to come back if he was turning that type of money away 2 years ago. But if he did, they just announced Yao Shannon and Zhang Wei Li. If he did, now UFC 300 starts to feel like that mega event that we all expect. Now, let me ask you this one, though.
Yes.
He is probably the most likely, though, of the people that retired. Because you know every time somebody comes back, right? So Brock Lesnar headline 100, Brock Lesnar headline 200. I don't care that Misha Tate and Amanda Nunes walk last. Brock Lesnar headlined that fight card. That was the marquee attraction. Fast forward 7 years now, 8 years almost. He's too old not a headline. Ronda Rousey does not seem to have any desire to fight again. Khabib seems like the most reasonable or closest choice of someone that could come back and make that impact.
Yeah. No, honestly, I'm sure he's still great. I'm sure he'd still do a really, really good job. I mean, like, I don't hate Leon versus Bilal, though. I've been advocating
as
for that.
a headliner, though, Ben, the headline UFC 300.
Yeah, I don't know.
Think about
maybe
this.
Not. I understand what you're saying. Cormier versus Lesnar. How about that one?
Think about this one, dude. I'm so old, but think about
You're
this.
Not even
Ben.
that old. Stop,
Ben. Think about this. UFC 100 had Brock versus Frank Mir. It had George St. Pierre versus Thiago Alves, and so many other great fights. UFC 200 had me versus Jones scheduled, Nunes versus Tate scheduled, Lesnar versus Mark Hunt, and Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar for the interim championship. Those feel bigger than anything else we're going to see for a long time. How does the UFC make UFC 300 feel that way when it doesn't seem like there are stars at that level, especially when you have so many people already booked? You got O'Malley booked. You got O'Malley booked. You got the featherweight champ booked, Volkanovski. Adesanya said he's on a hiatus. Jones is hurt. So many people are booked. Islam is injured. So many people are booked or can't fight. How does the UFC make 300 feel that way? I mean, do they really go to Khabib and maybe offer him $50 million? What do you do?
Yeah, him or George St. Pierre. I don't know if he's available.
Still fight?
Probably. He looks good. I bet he can still fight. He's not that old. Was he like 42, maybe? 43?
Maybe 42 years old.
Why not you versus Brock Lesnar? Come on, baby. You want to get in shape one more time.
Brock Lesnar's like 50, bro.
Good. Easier for you then.
Brock Lesnar is in the WWE and doing his thing, man. He's fine. He actually doesn't even.
So you're saying he's too easy? Okay, get you versus Gable Stevenson,
bro. I can't fight these young dudes. I can't fight, Ben. Ben, I'm a terrible fighter. I told you I tried to fight the other day, and every time I threw a kick, I fell down. I was sparring, and every time I threw a kick, I fell down. I would fall on the ground, bro. My legs were hurting so bad. Seriously, my legs are hurting so bad. Now, am I still pretty good? Yeah, I'm pretty good. My hands are still pretty fast. But, dude, after one day of training, my body hurt worse than anything I've felt in a long time. So,
okay, what about Pereira versus Aspinall? We talked about that. That'd be fun. I'm in.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That would help. That would help. I don't know if they would do that. I mean, Pereira wants Jamal Hill, but Pereira also wants Jamal Hill because he doesn't want to fight Ankalaev. I mean, Ankalaev can wrestle too. So if I'm being honest, Pereira's smart. He's very smart.
Yes.
Wouldn't seem to be a great matchup for him. All right, Ben, I'm going to let you go, man. So to recap, nobody's really surprised by the text messages that Dana was talking about Jon Jones privately, because in private text messages, you kind of say things that might not always seem appropriate. 2, Sean Strickland's the protagonist, guys, as we head into UFC 297 this weekend. Ben has coined him the good guy. Would have never thought that would be the case. Even after listening to him go off with Theo Von, he still coins him the good guy. That's how bad he thinks Dricus du Plessis is.
Dricus du Plessis is going to bring a metal detector to UFC 297.
Oh, yeah. And Dricus is going to have a metal detector. And lastly,
that's great.
Khabib, Danny Rubenstein, get the metal detector. Get the metal detector for Dricus. And lastly, we don't know if Khabib's fighting. UFC 300 needs a main marquee attraction, and I don't know if it's going to be the Eagle. I guess we'll find out. Guys, thank you so much for always watching what we do. Enjoy UFC 297 this weekend. I'm Daniel Cormier. That's been Askren. Until next time, peace.
See ya.